Hello, I'm Casey and today I'm going to be making focaccia. Focaccia is a yeasted flatbread from Italy. It's flat in the sense that it's not in the form of a loaf, but it is baked in a pan. Today I'm not just making any kind of regular focaccia. I am making a focaccia that comes from the southern region of Puglia. In this region, they sometimes use potato in their dough and it delivers such a soft and tender texture. One other thing that's really nice about this focaccia is that there is no overnight resting period. It can be completed in 3 to 4 hours. Let's dive in and I can show you how to make focaccia. Like I mentioned, the ingredient that's going to take this focaccia to the next level is the potato. I have a russet potato here, which I'm going to peel and boil it in some water. You want about 8 ounces of potato. I'm also going to be using the water that I boil this potato in. I'm going to be using that water to mix into my flour. So I'm gonna add a little bit of a flavor to it. I'm gonna put some rosemary and some sage, salt, some garlic in there to infuse that water that then I will use to make my dough. I've got all of my ingredients ready to be put into some water so I can boil it. So I'm going to cut up my potato just so it cooks a little bit faster. I then have 2 sprigs of rosemary and some leftover sage that I had. And then I have about 3 cloves of garlic here. I have some small ones, but it probably all adds up to 3 cloves. I'm gonna give them a little smash and throw them in there. And then put in about a teaspoon or 2 of salt. My potatoes are covered in that cold water and I have all of the herbs and seasoning in there. Now I'm just gonna take it over to the stovetop and boil it until the potatoes are nice and soft. So the potatoes are done. I brought it up to a boil, which probably took the most amount of time. And then once it came to a boil, I turned down the heat to about a medium high and let it simmer for just 10-15 minutes. And now the potatoes are fork tender and it smells wonderful. So I'm gonna work on transferring these potatoes into the bowl of a stand mixer. After I get all the potatoes out, I am going to reserve this liquid because I'm gonna use this flavored liquid to mix into my dough. I am gonna need it to cool down for a little bit and then I'll strain the water and then I will use about 1.25 cups of this water to bring my ingredients together. Okay, let's get this strained. See how well I can pour this. So I don't need all of this water, but I am going to pour a good amount in here and again, just let it cool off before I use it. So maybe in 15-20 minutes, this will be cool enough for me to use. While my water is cooling, I'm gonna start mashing up these potatoes until they're creamy and smooth. And then I'll get all my dry ingredients ready to be added to the bowl of the stand mixer. Okay, this is getting all smashed. The main reason why we don't want things to be too hot when we're adding our ingredients to this is because of the yeast. We don't want to kill the yeast. My potatoes are all mashed. I'm going to start by adding my flour into this. This is bread flour, so it does have a higher protein to it and it will have just a much more lovely lift in the oven. So I would recommend using bread flour. If all you have is all-purpose, that's better than nothing, but bread flour is going to have a little bit more of a lift when you bake your bread. So I'm adding about 465 grams of flour in there. It's about 3 cups. Okay, so to this flour, I'm gonna add about 2 teaspoons of sugar and then 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And I'm gonna, and then 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. I'm gonna give this a little bit of a mix up to help cool down those potatoes. Because I have not added my yeast in yet. You don't want salt and yeast to be right next to each other either because the salt will end up killing the yeast. So I'm gonna get this kind of pre-incorporated before I add my 2 teaspoons of dry yeast. Nice and warm, not too hot to handle, so you know it's not gonna be too hot for the yeast. But it's kind of like a crumbly flour right now. So in goes about 2 teaspoons of yeast. I have a dough hook that I'm gonna mix all this together on the when it's on the stand mixer, so I'm just gonna use that to kind of whisk this together real quick. So my potato water has cooled down. It is still warm, but it's not, I can put my finger in it and it's not scalding hot. We're going to add this potato water, which it is 1.25 cups, to our flour and potato mixture. And just slowly add the water in. Okay, so my dough's been mixing for about 5 minutes on like a medium speed. So now I'm just gonna transfer this into a well-oiled bowl, and it's gonna do its first rise. So we have our dough in an oiled bowl that it will now rest. We're gonna let it rest until it's doubled in size, so it's about 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And then we'll come back to this. So my dough has been resting for 30 minutes and it's pretty much doubled in size. We need to transfer this dough into its baking dish. This is about 11 by 11 square pan and it fits my countertop oven perfectly. So I'm gonna use this. You can also use a 9 by 13, which I feel like typically people have in their homes. Get this all lined with some extra virgin olive oil and just spread it around. Let's dump it out. It just slides right on out of there. Get our fingers oily and try to spread this out, going all the way and touching the bottom of the pan. Trying to spread this out, and I am going to let this rest again for another 30 minutes before I add any toppings to it, and cover it again. See you in 30 minutes. So while this dough rests for a second time, I'm gonna put it off to the side. I'm gonna talk about the toppings. I definitely go by the philosophy of a no waste kitchen. So I went through my refrigerator and found some great toppings that I could use that I don't need anymore for any of the recipes I have planned. And that is a red onion. I have about like 1/4 of a red onion left, and I have some tomatoes. You can do anything from olives to anchovies to different types of herbs, but I am going to use these 2 ingredients today because, like I said, I had it in my refrigerator and I don't want them to go to waste. So it's been 30 more minutes and my focaccia is rested. Let's uncover it. It's definitely risen a little bit more. You can see it's a little jiggly as well, but look how good that looks. Now we are going to top it with some of our toppings that I cut up, and then we're gonna sprinkle salt and pepper on top. Okay, adding some of that red onion. I'm just gonna add it all. And to finish this off before we put it in the oven, we're gonna put some flaky sea salt. I use Maldon, and freshly cracked pepper. Now this is ready to go into the oven. It's going to be a 400-degree oven for 35 to 40 minutes. Okay, now about 35 minutes later, my focaccia is done, but I cannot dig into this until after I let it cool for a little bit. I'm gonna let this cool on the wire rack, but before I take it out of the pan, I'm gonna drizzle some more extra virgin olive oil all over this, just so it can soak in while it's resting. Let's take this out. See what it looks like on the inside. Wonderful. Okay, so I cannot wait to try out this focaccia. Buon appetito. This is so good. The perfect texture. It's incredible what that potato will do to a bread. The crust is just so nice and oily and crisp. And the inside is just so tender and soft. Give this a try.